What's going on, my people, my guy, my girl? What's going on? Yo, we got some juicy news here, as always. You know what I'm saying? Because reading is fundamental. Written by Bruno Venditti. You want to Bruno Venditti, yo, you want to thank you for the article. So what me I say? So anyway, this is coming from elements.visualcapitalist.com. That's the website. And of course, it's your boy YNA. What's up? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, de-dollarization. More countries seek alternatives to the US dollar. And it's been going on for a while. People just been doing it secretly, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's zoom in on this right here. De-dollarization chart. The US dollar has dominated global trade and capital flows for decades. However, many nations are looking for alternatives to the greenback and to reduce their dependence on the US dollar. People don't want to be bullied anymore. People don't want to be policed. People don't want to be sanctioned. They still want to do what they have to do without America cutting their money off. The process of submitting the US dollar as the currency used for trading commodities and other goods and services. So let's go through these years. In 1920, the dollar, let's zoom in again. In 1920, the dollar begins to displace the pound sterling as an international reserve currency after the First World War. The United States is a significant recipient of wartime gold inflows. Man. Okay, so in 1944, international trade is conducted using the US dollar under the Bretton Woods Agreement. In 1960, European and Japanese exports become more competitive with US exports. There is a large supply of dollars around the world, making it difficult to back dollars with gold. In 1971, President Nixon seizes the direct convertibility of US dollars to gold. That's when he stopped that. In 1960, European and Japanese. Did I read it already? I think I did read it already. All right, so let's get down. I'm getting confused with all these dates. Let's get down to 1981, right? Yeah. 1981. After years of hyperinflation, the US dollar loses 2/3 of its purchasing power. In 2007-2008 global financial crisis, investors seek US dollars, expecting the currency to retain its value. I guess after the housing crisis that the bank scammed people out of. Anyway, so call it what it is. 2014, following the annexation of Crimea, Russia prioritized de-dollarization in response to Western sanctions. And I think I remember that speech that Vladimir Putin made, right, about that and about arming the American enemies against them, basically doing the same thing that America does to other countries. Anyway, in 2022, right, 2022, central banks buy gold at the fastest pace since 1967 as countries diversify their reserve away from the dollar. The war in Ukraine results in Western sanctions against Russia. As a result, Russia and China deepen cooperation between their financial systems, with ruble yuan grade increasing 80 times in 8 months. And you didn't see this coming? Russia and China are on the same border. They sit right by their neighbors. They've been trading with each other. They've been helping each other with imports and war and all that stuff. They've been there for each other and with each other. So you don't think this is going to force them, this war, this sanction was going to force them to join courses to each other? Especially China. China is not, not a stranger to sanctions from America. So anyway, 2023, Brazil and Argentina discussed the creation of a common currency. The UAE and India explore the use of rupees to trade non-oil commodities. Russia and Iran are working together to launch a cryptocurrency backed by gold. Despite these movements, few expect to see the end of the dollar's global sovereign status anytime soon. Currently, central banks still hold 60% of their foreign exchange reserve in dollars. So there you have the breakdown of world foreign exchange reserves. And here you have the volume of Chinese Russian trade in yuan. It's a nice chart. Very informative chart. So de-dollarization, more countries seek alternatives to the US dollar. The US dollar has dominated global trade and capital flows over many years. However, many nations are looking for alternatives to the greenback to reduce their dependence on the United States. This graphic catalogs the rise of the US dollar as a dominant international reserve currency and the recent efforts by various nations to de-dollarize and reduce their dependency on the US financial system. So why do you think this is happening? As I said at the beginning of the video, people do not want to be policed anymore, and people do not want to be governed anymore. People do not want to be sanctioned and slow down their economy just because America judged them or deemed them a certain way. So, the dollar dominance. The United States became almost overnight the leading financial power after World War One, First World War. The country entered the war only in 1917 and emerged far stronger than its European counterparts. As a result, the dollar began to displace the pound sterling as the international reserve currency, and the US also became a significant recipient of wartime gold inflows. The dollar then gained a greater role in 1944 when 44 countries signed the Bretton Woods Agreement, creating a collective international currency exchange regime pegged to the US dollar, which was in turn pegged to the price of gold. By the late 1960s, European and Japanese export became more competitive with the US exports. There was a large supply of dollars around the world, making it difficult to back dollars with gold. President Nixon seized the direct convertibility of US dollars to gold in 1971. This ended both the gold standard and the limit on the amount of currency that could be printed. Although it has remained the international reserve currency, the US dollar has increasingly lost its purchasing power since then. Russia and China stepped towards de-dollarization. Concerned about America's dominance over the global financial system and the country's ability to weaponize it, other nations have been testing alternatives to reduce the dollar's hegemony. As the United States and other Western nations impose economic sanctions against Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine, Moscow and Chinese government have been teaming up to reduce reliance on the dollar and to establish cooperation between their financial systems. Since invasion in 2022, the ruble-yuan trade has increased 80-fold. Russia and Iran are also working together to launch a cryptocurrency backed by gold, according to Russian news agency Vedomosti. In addition, central banks, especially Russia's and China's, have bought gold at the fastest pace since 1967, as countries move to diversify their reserves away from the dollar. Other countries are reducing dollar dependency. The de-dollarization it's a theme in other parts of the world. In recent months, Brazil and Argentina have discussed the creation of a common currency for the two largest economies in South America. In a conference in Singapore in January, multiple former Southeast Asian officials spoke about the de-dollarization efforts on the way. The UAE and India are in talks to use rupees to trade non-oil commodities in a shift away from the dollar, according to Reuters. For the first time in 48 years, Saudi Arabia said that the oil-rich nation is open to trading in currencies besides the US dollar. Despite these movements, few expect to see the end of the dollar's global sovereign status anytime soon. Currently, central banks still hold about 60% of their foreign exchange reserves in dollar. Thank you guys for tuning in, for checking out, for staying in, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, thank you guys for everything. Anyway, as I said before, reading is fundamental. guys, don't slack on your reading, man. Don't. Come on, come on. All right. Take care, guys.